What the heck is a guitar triad, and how is it going to change the way that I play guitar? Stick around, I'm going to show you 2 chord shapes that you'll be moving up and down the neck in no time. Welcome back to Relax and Learn Guitar. I'm Kevin, this is Maggie May. She is thinking that my pick is a treat, but let's give her one because she's being a good girl. My wife Vicki is behind the camera.
Hello.
And we're going to be talking about triads and changing up your guitar playing forever. So let's get started. In this lesson, I'm going to show you 2 different chord shapes or triad shapes. One's going to be a major and one's going to be a minor. Now, you don't need to know a ton of music theory for this lesson. I'm going to talk a little bit about theory, starting with the word triad, which means 3, obviously, because these shapes, we're going to play 3 notes. We're going to be playing strings 3, 2, and 1 on our guitar, the thinnest strings down at the bottom of the guitar. We're not going to worry about the rest of the strings. So for a triad, there's 3 notes in a triad. That is the root, or the 1, the 3rd, and the 5th. So those notes are all going to be taking place on these 3 strings, which is why we only need to play 3 strings. The other thing that's going to be helpful, if you don't know the names of the notes on the 6th string, which is the same as the name of the notes on the 1st string, because this is a low E string, and this is the high E string. Vic will leave a link in the comments below and a card up here. You can check out that lesson when you're done with this one. It'll help you name these chords and know what you're doing with them a little better. So for a little bit of a visual, we're going to start with an F chord. I know, the F chord can ring fear into those folks who have not yet conquered it yet. But you don't have to conquer it. You can do this in a way instead, but it's so much more than that. So if you're playing an F major bar chord, it sounds like this, looks like this. We're barring all the notes on that 1st fret. But watch what happens if you just play the top 3 strings. So here's an F major bar chord, and here's an F major triad. So this is the shape, the first one you need to memorize and work on. 2 fingers. Index finger is going to bar, which means press down at the same time, on strings 1 and 2 on the 1st fret. And your middle finger is going to press down on string 3 on the 2nd fret. And remember, I'm not playing any other strings. That's an F major triad. We're just going to call it F major chord, F chord. Now, look what happens. Move it up 2 frets as a G, A, B, C, D, E. You have 1 shape and you just learned like 8 chords. Now, those obviously aren't going to sound as deep and full as a bar chord or a full-on, an open chord, cowboy chord, whatever you want to call it. But still sounds very good. So a chord progression that sounds really good if you're playing this F, then a C, and a B flat. This is what we're going to use our example for here. Sounds pretty good together, right? You can also do that same chord progression this way. Same chords, different sound because we're playing the higher strings. So the F is here on the 1st fret. You move up to the 8th fret, you get a C. And down to the 6th fret, you get a B flat. I might have called that a B earlier. It's a B flat. So you have this. Or this. Now you can strum these triad chords. They're going to sound fine that way. You could pick out the individual strings. Thanks, I like that. There's a whole combination. You can even finger pick it. So what I was doing there, I'm fitting in 8 notes, so I'm just doing strings 3, 2, 1, 3, 2, 1, 3, 2, 3, 2, 1, 3, 2, 1, 3, 2. Those are the strings. Just as a whole combination. The whole point of this lesson is to memorize these shapes and start moving them around and experimenting with them and see what sounds good together. And it opens up a whole nother, the reason I say like change your playing forever and game changer, it really did make a difference when I learned these triads. I never really thought, about it, but when I first started learning guitar, I learned like an F and a G and the C's and the A minors. And you kind of think like that is the G chord and that is the C chord. That is not the truth. There's several different ways to play every chord, and this is just one of them with these triads. And this is like the tip of the iceberg, but it's so cool to kind of start here. So one thing you can do that's pretty cool is if you got a buddy who can maybe play, let's stick to this F, C, and B flat. Have a buddy that can play those as either bar chords or open chords, get that nice low end. Then you could play the triads on top of that. So I've recorded that chord progression a little bit on my phone just to give you guys an example here of what you could do. Hopefully you guys can hear that. See just how great those work together. So as a little example, or you could just record yourself, playing the lower chords and then playing those triads on top of it and experiment with some improving and solo. It's just the possibilities are endless. Now for shape number 2, we're going to play a minor triad chord shape. And the cool thing with all these is you just got to remember the notes on those 6th string, which is the same as the 1st string, so you know what chord you're playing. And there's a major shape, which we've covered. And now we're going to do a minor shape. For a minor triad, remember a triad is 1, 3, and 5. For a minor triad, we flat the 3rd, and here's where the music theory comes in. We flat the 3rd note. And to flat something on the guitar, you just move it down 1 fret or 1/2 step. So watch what happens with this F major triad. The 3rd note in this triad, or the 3rd, is the actual 3rd string. It's this note. So for an F chord, there's an F, an A, and a C. So this 1st string is the F, and the 2nd string is the C, and the 3rd string is the A. We're going to flat that A, move it down 1/2 step. So now our shape moved from the major, major to minor. Now you just need one finger because we're just moving this note from the 3rd string, a 2nd fret, down to the 3rd string, 1st fret. So now just take your index finger and bar the first 3 strings, F minor. Guess what? G minor. Oh, I should use a pick. A minor, B, C minor, D minor, E minor. So now you've used one finger on 3 strings and you've got a dozen chords. So now you have the major bar chord or the major triad chord shape and the minor. So let's put that minor in a little bit of an example. I think the best way to learn guitar is to learn songs or at least kind of play with melodies and chord progressions. So another one could be a G here on the 3rd fret, G major. You could do an A minor, which is just strings 1, 2, and 3 barred on fret 5 with your index finger, to an E minor. And an E minor is actually just strings 3, 2, and 1 open. So let's test that out. Here's an A minor chord. Let's do a bar chord. This is an A minor bar chord. Sounds like that. Triad sounds like this. Right? Let's do an E minor chord. We'll do an open one here. Nice and low and sad. But if you just play the first 3 strings, That's A, E minor, so you have G. Let's do some similar kind of rhythm, different chords. G, A minor, E minor. I like playing that open chord there just to get some bass notes in there. So for that G, A minor, and E minor, you can do a similar thing. You could strum them. Let's see. You could pick them out. Just a combination there of just experiment with it. So there you have it, a major triad shape, just 2 fingers to make that shape, and a minor triad, and you've got a world of possibilities, 2 shapes there using 2 fingers, and you've got like 24 chords. So enjoy that, experiment with it, have fun with it. It will change things up, I promise. And you can check out this lesson next. I've shown how to use just 2 fingers to change 4 or 5 different chords and sound like a pro. So check that one out next. Remember, you're never too old to learn, and I'll see you guys for the next lesson.